Superman is here. James Gunn and DC Studios' first film in the new DCU, and people seem to like it. Grossing over $100 million at the domestic box office, scoring at A- amongst moviegoers, and dominating the online conversation. Hopefully inspiring a new generation of DC fans. But what did I think of the movie? Let's talk about it. Hey Internet, I'm Chris. And this is the place on the internet where I talk about comics, movies, games, and things I'm generally passionate about. If you want to hear more about the DCU and Superman, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So I saw Superman. I saw it twice, actually. So it's a couple days since it's been out. I saw it on Saturday. I was trying to get, early access. There was supposed to be, a world tour press stop here in New York. That never really materialized, so I ended up seeing it Saturday really early. I took my son to see it, and then I saw it on Sunday too. And to cut straight to the point, I liked it. It was good. Was it what I expected in terms of what a DCU launch Superman movie should be? Kind of. I think my expectations were a little high, and that's why I wanted to see it a second time, and I've waited a little bit to kind of put this video out and put my thoughts together, because I didn't want to come off as a hater or a contrarian just for views. I wanted to kind of get my thoughts together and really talk about it. I saw it with a friend so that we could talk about it. They seemed to like it a little bit more than I did. And I don't want to say it's good but not perfect. Really, every movie, there's no perfect movie. Even the movies I think are perfect. But there's just something, I don't know, I can't, there's something about the movie where it's not like The Batman or The Dark Knight. When I jumped into when I walked away from those movies, I was wild. And I've been waiting for that to happen with a Superman movie. The times I've gone to see a Superman movie in theaters, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, which kind of is a Superman movie, kind of not. Each time I kind of walk out with a bunch of qualifiers, oh yeah, it was okay, and I felt that with this. I love James Gunn as a filmmaker. The Guardians movies are fantastic. I love Peacemaker, the series. The Suicide Squad was great, and I don't think he's made a bad superhero movie, and this is not that. But I think he's the type that the characters like Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner, who are in this movie, Metamorpho, those are the characters where he's more at home. Superman, he does all the good things. He's able to give us a hopeful and inspiring iteration of that character. But I think I saw a tweet online where this movie feels like you're thrust into season 3, episode 17 of a TV series. And that's what it feels like. The setup is Superman had an intervention in Baravia, a nation invading a smaller nation, Jarnapur, and that has sort of sparked this conversation around Superman and what he means in the world. And that's cool, but it just seems and again, I respect what Gunn was trying to do and being okay, you understand who Superman is, let's throw you into the action, this is the DCU, it's already existed. The sort of opening of it is pretty cool, where you have, hey, 300 years ago, that was when the start of the metahumans. 3 years ago, Superman landed. 3 months, all these kind of things are really cool. But I think there's should be more set up for certain things in the movie, so that, hey, it would be cool to see Superman make that choice. David Corenswet is awesome. Rachel Bronson is awesome. As the whole cast is really amazing in all their roles. Again, there's just something about the movie where it just and I think part of it is I have a bit of superhero fatigue, which is kind of hilarious because I make videos about comic books and superhero movies on the internet. But I think I am sort of at the point where unless it's something really, really good, it's kind of and also again, I think James Gunn is really at home with those characters that my favorite parts. Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner. I thought Nicholas Hoult was great as Lex Luthor. He's top-notch hater and stuff, but Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, both Zack Snyder and James Gunn sort of rely on the fact that you know who Lex Luthor is. There's no setup as to why he hates Superman so much. He tells you, but you never really see it. It's never really it's never really built up. There's no moments where they're together and you kind of see hey, What was Lex like before Superman arrived? What was Lex like after? I mean, you kind of assume that he still was a hater before Superman was there, and that's he tells you it in a monologue. And that's kind of like one of my issues with the movie, where that sort of like relationship, which is the thrust of the conflict in the movie, is there. Like, I really like in Guardians 3, the High Evolutionary is a despicable person, like evil on top of evil. But what James does is not humanize him, but there are scenes between him and Rocket in flashbacks that you get why, like, hey, why the High Evolutionary is looking for Rocket. You get little instances of, like, hey, he has a god complex. This is why. These are his experiments. And they're all throughout the movie through flashbacks. And I think that's what made that character such a great villain in that movie. And I wish we had that in this. But I think the problem with sort of like these cinematic universe movies is that they rely on, one, again, you knowing stuff about the comic books, which is great, like as a fan. But also, it relies on the fact that, hey, maybe we'll address that down the line. It's that moment in The Force Awakens where it's like, hey, where did you get that lightsaber? Hey, we don't have time for that. we got to move on. And there's parts like that where it just feels like I wish there was more, particularly when it came to Lex and Superman. I love David Corenswit's portrayal of the character. I think that's something that people needed. You could see just from the social media response that people are having a really good time seeing this hopeful portrayal. Man of Steel, I remember walking out not even inspired really to see a sequel. I was kind of like... And also, I mean, that's sort of like telling of the time too, because when they made that movie, I'd imagine that they wanted to make more in a cinematic universe, but there's no post-credit scene. There's maybe a Wayne Industries satellite in there. There's really like no references to a larger sort of like world of metahumans. So that movie was very much its own thing. And it's hard to make that kind of movie anymore, considering James Gunn is the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as much as he wants to make this movie work on its own, there just has to be things that set other things up that are from other movies. Rick Flag Sr. is in this. And if you saw Creature Commandos, there are some moments in this where you're kind of like, oh, like, that makes sense, you know? So yeah, I liked the movie. It was fun. There were some really cool moments. Some moments that, I don't think they were bad moments, but again, I've yet to walk out of a Superman movie in the theater. Superman 78, when I used to watch it as a kid, loved it. I really believe Christopher Reeve could fly. But I'm still yet to walk out of one of these Superman movies and be like, oh my God. And you could say, hey, Chris, you have a little bit of a Batman bias. Fair enough. Fair enough. Which is why I waited to record this, because I was like, you know what? Maybe I am tired of superhero movies and I have a fatigue, and that bias has infected my opinion about this movie. So I should let people have their moment and then talk about it. Hopefully my opinion evolves. Again, I've seen it twice. One other thing, we're going to talk about spoilers. I may have already spoiled some things, but there's a moment in it about, and this is, I think, sort of like a microcosm of the issue with the movie, or my issue with the movie, is the Jor-El moment. So in the beginning, we find out, spoilers, that Jor-El is played by Bradley Cooper, who presumably was woken up on a weekend and be like, hey, do you want to be Jor-El? Like, just come down here for like 2 weeks or something. And there's a message that Superman likes to play to soothe him, that's corrupted, and Lex Luthor steals that message, and you find out the second half of that message is Jor-El telling him that, hey, you should, you know, go to Earth. They're simple, conquer them, have as many wives as you want, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Like, hey, the Kryptonians being evil, or sending, you know, Kal-El off to, you know, Earth to conquer. I don't think that's bad. But I think James Gunn, all of his movies are really about like found family, outsiders, And I think something that really makes Superman like really sort of like work for me at least is that he is a person of two worlds. He is a person that he is the optimism and the futurism of Krypton. Like his parents are scientists and they sent them off with all their hopes and dreams, which is what makes that immigrant story really work. And then also he was raised by the Kents to be kind, and also that's how he loves humanity and sees the beauty in humanity. So the fact that it kind of was like almost like it felt like a throwaway, like hey, and again, they could address it or retcon it later on in the DCU and stuff, but I don't think they are. Where it feels like, hey, his Kryptonian heritage doesn't really like matter because they were evil and crazy. We'll probably learn more in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, but it just feels like like that's sort of James Gunn making it work for himself. And he said that like part of like what made it click in his head for this script was putting crypto in, which crypto's important, but you find in this movie crypto's not even his dog. Crypto's his cousin's dog, which their relationship doesn't really change. Crypto, like, he just doesn't even really like Crypto's like, hey, I'm gonna save him just because I save everyone, and Crypto's scared and all that kind of stuff. So, and then at the end he's like, we see Supergirl and he's like, oh yeah, they're going off to do whatever, and setting up that movie. So I think again that is the center of like it, where James Gunn kind of has to make it his own thing, which any director and filmmaker, or even if they're doing a comic book run, will do that. Like sort of the Krypton and the Kryptonians has been retcon, gone back and forth and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like that was definitely a missed opportunity, and the movie just goes like it's really fast, like it. And part of why I guess they didn't put things in between Lex and Superman or more of the Kryptonian things, it's really fast paced. You move on from one thing to the next. Like Superman loses a fight, he gets healed up, he's like, I gotta get back into the fray. And there's just all these cool things where you're like, hey, can we stay here in this moment for a little longer? Even moments like with Clark and Lois, like those were some of the best parts in the movie, and I'm like, I actually wish we had more of this, you know what I mean? So there are things where I really loved it. There are parts of it where I'm like, oh my god, like the Mr. Terrific scene, Nathan Fillion. I was wrong about that casting. I still think he's a little older for that character, but he nailed it, so I'll shut up. And I like James Gunn movies, and I like this one. And again, it's a problem with me. My expectations may have been too high. I may have wanted what I felt when I saw The Dark Knight or The Batman. And hopefully, maybe as time goes on and there's less and less expectations with the movie, and I'm able to rewatch it, that I like it a little more. That happened with Batman vs. Superman, especially when they came out with the Ultimate Cut. So I'm hoping I like it more down the line. But as of right now, I will probably give it a solid 7. Depending when you ask me, it might be a 6.5, it might be a 7.5. So we're gonna keep it at a 7. And yeah, I liked it. I think it's good. As a fan of DC, I'm really happy that people love it. Even though I don't love it, I don't think like, oh, people are crazy for liking this movie. It's great. It's inspiring as a DC fan to sort of like not be embarrassed and be able to poke my head out and all those kind of things. So I'm excited for the future of the DCU. I don't think this was like the Iron Man where like, hey, like the DCU is going to explode. Like they still have some question marks, but I am excited, and I am particularly excited for Peacemaker Season 2 because I get to see Vigilante, I get to see James Gunn do what James Gunn does best. And yeah, overall, good movie. You should definitely check it out. Take your friends, your family, so that we can get more DCU stuff. And like I said, I'm inspired by the fact that people walked away from this movie and saw what Superman was doing, and you see someone lead with kindness. And I think it's the type of hero we need now. So despite me not loving the movie, I really love the message of the movie. What did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you love it? Were you on the Lex Luthor side where you're like, I hate this Superman? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.